So here's a good question submitted in the forum about um, someone who is wanting to divorce, but there are no biblical grounds for doing so. I'll read the question for you. How can I encourage a married couple to stay married when there is clearly no biblical warrant for a divorce, but do so in a way where the person seeking counseling and wanting the divorce feels like I am for them and not against them? I do my best to be a good listener and not minimize any of the concerns and issues they bring up. But in most cases where I encourage them to persevere and not give up, they thank me for my time and for my wise counsel, with no pushback and without showing me any signs of them disagreeing with me. But I later hear from others that this person is going around telling other members that they shouldn't bother approaching me with any of their marriage issues because I'll just tell them to suck it up and I won't be of any help. Really difficult. And I'm sure that many of you pastors have encountered something similar to this. So I'm always thinking about safety first. And sometimes safety doesn't come necessarily in the form of physical, visible abuse. Sometimes that safety is emotional safety or psychological safety. And we need to be very vigilant and very empathetic for people going through that type of abuse. Sometimes we may have in our own psyche a high tolerance for being oppressed or being silenced. And we may project that onto the person. But I really want to make sure about what I'm seeing, not just from an objective point of view, but I want to see what their experience is. And so the usage of the Lego figurines can be helpful in that regard. Let's say the woman is coming to you and saying, I want to get a divorce. And I think for most pastors, we're thinking instinctively, God hates divorce, God hates divorce, God hates divorce. What can we do to prevent a divorce? I know that I was the same way. I would advise you to set aside that for now and really listen to what the experience of the woman is, okay? So, or it could be the man, but in this case, it's a woman who is seeking the divorce. So as you listen, you might even want to use you want to even use Lego figurines to help this person explain to you what it's like. So they're saying certain things and, I don't know what exactly could be going on. In this pastor's case, there is a significant immigrant Latino population, and they come from a machismo culture where it's highly patriarchal and sometimes disrespectful of women. And so we want to make sure that we want to see what sort of effect that has on her psyche. So as she describes things, really pay attention to the cues and ask her questions about what the experience is like for her. And you may realize that for her, the experience is so psychologically traumatic that it feels like she is being ripped apart and she is in shambles. Okay. So of course, if we say to her, hey, God hates divorce, in this situation, in this timing, that is not a very helpful thing to say to her. You can always get back to the issue of divorce at step 15 or 20, but at step 1 or 2, I really suggest that you say to her, I really see how devastating this is for you to be interacting with him in such a way. So you want to be thinking about her emotional safety. Does she need to have some sort of physical separation from him? Does she even need a restraining order? Does she need some extra help from other people who can come in and be of help for her or for the kids? What is she really needing? You can also express gratitude to her, saying, I'm so thankful that you could entrust me with this information, entrust me with how difficult this is for you. And you could even go in with empathy, saying, quite frankly, if I were in your situation, I'm not sure what I would do either. Um, maybe I would be tempted to just run away. Maybe that's what you feel right now too. And I must admit that I haven't been in your situation before, so um, I feel like any sort of advice to you would be more theoretical than it is actually experiential. Or you can say to her, I actually have been in a situation like this. I wouldn't compare your situation, but I would say I know what it feels like to have my mind or my heart being ripped to shreds and me not knowing what to do. Anything that you can do to help her realize that you really are listening to her, I think would be a good place to start. And then you can ask her, what have you tried? Rather than assuming that they have or have not had couples counseling or whatever it is, just ask her and explore, what have you tried so far? And then she says, I tried this and that didn't work. I tried this and that didn't work. You can ask, are you wanting him to come in, and do you want me to have maybe a joint session with you and explore how things could be helpful for the two of you? And if she says no, then you don't press the issue. Like, you're really at the mercy of meeting them where they're at, and you don't want to force them to do things, especially when they are psychologically very, very vulnerable. Now, let's just say that she says to you, what I want you to do is I want you to bless my divorce. In this culture, maybe if they come from somewhat of a Catholic background and they see you as like a priest that can bless this and bless that, that may be their expectation, and they may be disappointed that you might say to them, honestly, that's really not my place to do, whether to bless the divorce or not bless the divorce. If you want me to teach you what God says about divorce, I can do that. But what I really want to do is I want to see, what are the ways that I can actually help you that are within my capabilities. And you can ask her, do you want me to help you explore some options? And if she says yes, then you can go into things that maybe she hasn't tried before. But always be asking about her experience of things and what she's willing to do. If she's not willing to do things, you can ask her why. And she may be giving you more information that you didn't know before. And go heavy with the empathy, saying, again, I am not in your situation, but this sounds really, really horrible. You might want to give them a basic teaching about boundaries. Boundaries could mean that if he is being abusive towards her in any way, even like whether it's emotionally abusive, and definitely if it's like physically abusive, you want to be thinking about what could be a good safety plan for her. If you don't know how to do a safety plan, you may want to direct her to a good therapist in the community who knows how to draft safety plans for a person. Includes like an emergency bag with the keys, with cash, documents, that kind of thing. But you want to make sure that you are empowering them to make certain decisions that allow them to feel at least some sort of emotional safety first. And what may happen is that if they have boundaries with him, and that doesn't mean like jumping quickly to legal separation or divorce. It just means that, you're saying to him, uh, I cannot be in relationship with you or in the same house with you when you are saying certain things about me or demeaning me. So because of that, I'm going to spend some time away from you until you can figure out how to treat me with respect. Whether that means you need to go see a therapist for yourself, whether that means you need to speak to the pastor, but I'm not going to be giving you the privilege of being in the company of me the more that you um, demean me or the more that you psychologically abuse me. Sometimes the person may come to his senses and say, after cooking one too many Stouffer's dinners or corned beef and hash, they're like, okay, what can I do to make this better? Or they may say, um, I, yeah, I, um, good riddance. I don't want you in my life. And they may be the one that divorces you and signs, files the papers. And in that sense, of course, now you're dealing with grief, but this person is now not the person who caused the divorce, but the one who stood their ground, did what was dignifying for themselves, um, and allowed the person who is the abuser and who, maybe even the one who is not a believer to be the one that files for divorce because they can't handle healthy and good boundaries. So I guess in summary, I would say don't rush into the, hey, don't divorce conversation. Let that be something that that cooler heads can talk about way down the line. But right now, really focusing on safety, on empathy, on exploring options that she has tried or has not tried, asking what she's wanting from you and seeing whether you can provide that or not. Because once you go into, hey, don't divorce without really knowing what the experience is like, then yes, I think they may just think that that all you care about is just um, following rules and rather than really seeing her as a person. So hopefully that's helpful.